Go ahead.
Just to continue on here, everyone present will give an opportunity to speak for or against the applications being heard. For your information, Committee of Adjustment is a public process. Personal information such as the applicant's name and property address, which is reported at a Committee of Adjustment meeting, is public information. Minutes of this Committee of Adjustment meeting will be received by Thorold City Council at a public council meeting and become part of the public record. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. A copy of the decision will be sent to the applicant or agent and to any person who files a written request. Please send an email to the Secretary Treasurer at angela.nesbitt@thorold.ca. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial body operating under the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Statutory Powers Procedure Act, as well as various provincial regulations. Sections 45 and 50 of the Planning Act outline the circumstances surrounding the approval of minor variances and controlling the conveyance of land in Ontario and the prevention of subdivision of land except with governmental approval. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the consent decision or the conditions to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision notice date. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
No.
I see. Nor do I. May I have a motion from the committee that the agenda be adopted as presented? Mr. Ravenek, seconded, please. Mr. D'Angelo, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Was notice given as required by the Planning Act, Madam Secretary?
Yes, sir, it was.
Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment, Madam Secretary?
No, there are not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The first application, D1010-2022, 2015 Allenport Road. Madam Secretary, please.
Thank you. An application has been submitted for consent for the purpose of creating a new lot. The subject lands are comprised of parts 1 and 2 as shown on the drawing submitted. Part 1 is proposed to be severed from the subject lands, while part 2, which consists of the balance of the subject lands, will be retained. The existing single detached dwelling is located on the retained parcel. The subject lands are designated rural industrial with greenfield overlay in the City of Thorold official plan and are zoned rural industrial M4 in accordance with the City of Thorold new zoning bylaw 60/2019. In conclusion, it is the recommendation of planning staff that consent application D1010-2022 be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, that the applicant provides the Secretary Treasurer with a legal description acceptable to the registrar of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan, if applicable, for use in the issuance of the certificate of consent. 2, that the owner provides a lawyer's undertaking to the satisfaction of the city to forward a copy of documentation confirming the transaction has been carried out. The document to be provided within 2 years of issuance of the consent certificate or prior to the issuance of a building permit, whichever occurs first. That a final certification fee of $190 payable to the City of Thorold is submitted to the Secretary Treasurer and that all conditions of consent be fulfilled. 4, that the payment of 2% of the value of the new lot, being part 1 of the submitted severance sketch, be made to the City of Thorold in lieu of dedication of land for park purposes pursuant to section 5313 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended. Number 5, that the applicant/owner receive final council approval for a site-specific official plan amendment prior to deed endorsement.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Craig Rowe from Upper Canada Consultants.
Welcome, Craig. Go ahead.
Just a couple comments to add. First and foremost, we support staff's recommendation, have no objections to the conditions. Just kind of anecdotally, council approved that related official plan amendment. If you recall, when I was before you last year, we were dealing with some properties up on Old Thorold Stone Road. That same official plan caveat that doesn't allow you to sever land until an industrial use has been established. That's the official plan amendment that we're pursuing with council right now. They've approved it, and we received notice of decision earlier this week. So this would be effectively creating a new lot for future industrial purposes, permitted use.
Get off.
Mr. Rowe, we're having trouble with a dog, it sounds like.
That's okay. We do have a deposit reference plan actually for the portion of the property. I believe a copy of our preliminary severance sketch was provided, but there is a deposit reference plan for the subject lands. If you have any other questions, I would be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Members of the committee, questions, comments?
I have none, John.
Thank you.
I have none.
Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this application? Seeing none. Members?
I can make a motion on this one, John.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that application D10-10 be approved based on the review of the pertinent information and the comments presented at this hearing, and having conducted a site visit for the reasons stated in the planning report, and that the approval is subject to the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Mr. Pizzo, thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Mr. D'Angelo, did you have a question? You're freezing, Mr. D'Angelo. Okay.
I'm just.
All in favor of the motion, please?
Yeah, I'm in technical difficulty.
That's okay. The motion is passed. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Have a good day.
You too.
Can you ask if you unmute? Unmuted him because the dog was barking.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicolette. I apologize I'm late to the meeting. I'm the consultant acting for the City of Thorold Planning Department. So I prepared all the recommendation reports for the Committee of Adjustment applications. I apologize for my lateness. I had a little bit of technical issues getting into the meeting. So, but I'm here to answer any questions, or if I can, provide the overview. I prepared the reports for all of the Committee of Adjustment applications before you today.
Thank you, Nicolette, and it's nice to see you. The second application, D1011, 2022.
For Beaver Dams Road. An application has been submitted for consent for the purpose of the creation of 3 parcels to be conveyed as lot additions to the adjacent lands. The subject lands are shown as parts 1, 2, and 3 on the drawing submitted and illustrated on figure 2. Part 2 is indicated as the severed lands, while parts 1 and 3 comprise the lands to be retained. The subject lands are designated general industrial, with a portion of the lands in the regeneration overlay in the City of Thorold official plan, and are zoned U, utility, in accordance with Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 60/2019. In conclusion, it is the recommendation of planning staff that consent application D1011 2022 be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, that the applicant provide the Secretary Treasurer with a legal description acceptable to the registrar of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan, if applicable, for use in the issuance of the certificate of consent. 2, that the owner provides a lawyer's undertaking to the satisfaction of the city to forward a copy of documentation confirming the transaction has been carried out, the document to be provided within 2 years of issuance of the consent certificate or prior to the issuance of a building permit, whichever occurs first. 4, that a final certification fee of $190 payable to the city of Thorold be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and that all conditions of consent be fulfilled. 4, that the payment of 2% of the value of the new lot, being Part 1, Figure 2, be made to the city of Thorold in lieu of dedication of land for park purposes pursuant to Section 5313 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended. Reason: the application is consistent with or conforms to provincial, regional, and local policies as applicable.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brendan Graham from Landix Developments, representing the site owners.
Welcome, Mr. Graham. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly say we are supportive of staff's recommendation. Generally okay with all the conditions as well. My only question was specific to condition 4 listed there for the parkland dedication. I believe it references part 1 as being the subject of the parkland dedication, where in fact part 2, as shown on the sketch, is the severed portion of land. So just wanted to raise that point and ensure that the parkland dedication is going to be focused on the severed portion and not the retained portion of the property.
Ms. Van Ooyen, would you like to address that?
Yes, that's correct. Brendan is correct. That should be revised.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Graham. Go ahead.
And yes, beyond that, it's supportive of staff's recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee members?
Chairman, I have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Pizzo.
It says parts 2 and 3 are proposed to remain zone industrial. What's in store for those lots?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So there was actually a severance application that went through the city earlier this January for the creation of a new industrial lot on Beaver Dams Road. The intention being that part 2 would merge with those future industrial lands, and that part 1 would merge with the existing holdings of the chemtrade facility on Beaver Dams Road. So both of those parcels are intended for future industrial development along with their abutting uses to the south.
Mr. Pizzo?
Well, this has been ongoing for quite a while. I'd like to make a motion that application D10 11/20/22 be approved, subject to site plan, site to visit, and I think it's going to be an improvement there.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for Mr. Pizzo's motion? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this application? Seeing none. Members of the committee, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Graham.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. D'Angelo, we didn't get your vote. You froze on that last motion. Were you in favor of the last motion? Thank you very much. Application D13-12-2022, 42 Green Hill Drive. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Recommendation that the requested minor variances be approved. The proposal: the subject lands are designated urban living area in the City of Thorold official plan and are zoned residential first density R1B in accordance with comprehensive zoning bylaw 2140/97. The applicant is proposing the construction of a front porch as shown on the drawing submitted and attached below. In order to facilitate the development, the following variances from the R1B zone are being requested. Bylaw 2140/97, Section 8, Residential First Density R1B Zone. Number 1, seeking relief from Provision 8.2C to reduce the front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 6.2 meters. And 2, seeking relief from Provision 8.2E to reduce the interior side yard setback from 1.2 meters to 1.1 meters. In conclusion, It is the recommendation of planning staff that the requested minor variances of application D1312-2022 be approved. It is the opinion of planning staff that the proposed variances meet the prescribed tests set out in the Planning Act, being that 1, the variances from the provisions of the bylaw are minor. 2, the variances are appropriate for the development of the land. 3, the general intent and purpose of the bylaw is maintained. And 4, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself.
I do. I'm Lorna Zillick, owner of the property.
Welcome, Lorna. Do you have anything to add to the report?
I'm just trying to improve the area. My parents bought the home in 1966, and I intend on improving it and living here quite a bit longer.
Good, good. Questions or comments from the committee members to the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Peasley.
Is this going to be an enclosed porch?
No,
the-
it's an, oh, sorry.
That's okay. You go ahead.
It's an open porch. If I can share a picture of what it's going to look like if you want.
No, I was just
An
wondering.
open porch, but with a roof.
Yeah, little roof.
Yeah, well,
So that's why if it was just a step, it wouldn't require a minor variance, but because it has a roof structure, the bylaw requires a minor.
I
variance.
understand that, but that wasn't my question. My question was, is it an enclosed porch? That was it.
And it's a no. Mr. Ravenek, did you have a question?
Now, in comparison to the existing uncovered porch, how much further does the new proposed porch extend from the house, or is it the same distance as the existing porch?
To the applicant.
I think it's approximately the same distance. I would have to measure it out, but actually my existing porch may be slightly bigger, but
Yes, if I can interject, I believe it's about
Go
the
ahead.
same distance, but right now it's just a series of steps going to the front door rather than an actual porch structure. So it's being revised from a step to a porch structure.
Thank you, Nicolette. Mr. Ravenek, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none. The chair is anxiously awaiting a motion.
Well, George, go ahead, George.
I don't know if there's anybody from the public that, I don't know if
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
I see none.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Ravenek.
Okay, if there's no other comments, I'll make that motion that the application be approved based on the report, site visit, and the comments made to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Ravenek. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Further questions or comments on this application? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Good luck to you, Lorna.
thank you so much.
Henry was frozen.
I know. Mr. D'Angelo, were you in favor of that last motion? Your video froze. Thank you very much. Application D1313-2022, 22 Hamilton Boulevard, Port Robinson. Madam Secretary, please.
Thank you. Recommendation that the minor variance requested in application D1313-2022 be approved. The proposal, the applicant is proposing the construction of a detached garage to the rear of the proposed residential dwelling with an increased height to permit the storage of a recreational vehicle as shown in the preliminary survey sketch. The property is currently vacant. In order to facilitate the development, as per comprehensive zoning bylaw 2140-97, the following variance is being requested. Section 6, general provisions of zoning bylaw 2140-97. Number 1, the proposed variance is seeking relief from section 6.25.1I of the bylaw to increase the maximum height of an accessory building, detached garage, from 4.5 meters to 6.2 meters. In conclusion, it is the opinion of planning staff that the proposed variance meets the prescribed tests set out in the Planning Act, being that 1, the variances to the provisions of the bylaw are minor. 2, the variances are considered to be appropriate for the development of the subject lands. 3, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. And 4, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Yeah.
Who speaks on behalf of this application, please? If you could identify yourself. Is there anyone here to speak on this application, please? Ms. Carter, are you there? I'm just waiting on Tabitha Carter.
She's lost her audio, apparently. Got a note here from her.
It looks like Ms. Carter,
She can hear us,
you can hear us?
but she's lost her audio and video.
Okay.
So she could respond through the chat if that's acceptable to you.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Comments, questions from committee members on this application?
I have none, John.
I have none.
I've
Thank
got
you. If we have no objections or questions and there's no one here to speak, let's have a motion.
I can make that motion, John.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Go ahead.
Application D 13-13 be approved based on the review of the pertinent information and comments presented at this hearing, and having conducted a site visit for the reasons stated in the planning report.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do we have a seconder for that motion, please? Mr. D'Angelo, thank you. All in favor of the motion? Thank you. I believe Tabitha Carter can hear us, and her application is granted. As we move on, we need an motion to approve the March and April 2022 minutes, please.
So
Probably.
moved.
We should do those separately, please. Mr. Pizzo, thank you. Seconded. Mr. Ravenek, thank you. All in favor of the March minutes? Thank you. And the April minutes, same mover? Thank you, Mr. Pizzo. Seconded by Mr. Ravenek. All in favor? Thank you. Any unfinished business, Madam Secretary?
Other than there's still no updates as to when in-person meetings will resume. At this rate, it's probably going to be a while, would be my assumption.
Okay, you'll keep us updated.
Absolutely.
As we see under the new business, Mallory Smith, intermediate planner, has left the city.
Yes, Mallory's last day with the city was last Thursday. So that in turn means I have no planning staff, I have no manager, I have no senior planner, I have no intermediate planner. But we have been fortunate enough to connect with MHBC. Nicolette, as you see, has been in attendance for our Committee of Adjustment meetings. If I'm not mistaken, Nicolette will be the representative from MHBC for our Committee of Adjustment meetings.
Yes, that's the plan. And now that we've got, and Angela's been excellent in helping us work through this process. So now that hopefully things will go a little smoother next time. But yeah, it was all a little bit of a rush, but we got there, and yeah, and I'm here today. And again, apologize for the lateness. But,
no worries, Nicolette, and I'm just glad that you could attend.
But I'm happy to be part of this group.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Pizzo.
Why do you, we have recommendations on some applications and we don't have recommendations on others?
So which,
You're looking, the recommendation that the minor variance requested application be approved, but it's not on two of them.
On the consent applications.
No, let her do it. Go ahead, Nicolette.
probably just structured a little bit differently, but somewhere on the consent applications, there is a recommendation.
Yeah, there is a recommendation, but it hit you right in the face right away. A recommendation that be approved.
Right, so on the consent applications, we've got it under the conclusions. So yeah, we're following these are the logistics. We're following the format of what the previous planners have done. And as we work through the process, because we do, obviously we do consulting work for a lot of other individuals as well as municipalities. So we're also hoping to kind of smooth out the process so that there's a bit more consistency and possibly, make your reports a little clearer, because we see so much work throughout the province. We can help with that. So short answer is, this is the first go around. We basically copied the format from previous examples. So we're following the City of Thorold's format, and yeah, that's the only.
I just thought, John, this is something Angie could give us a why.
No, I think Nicolette's going to come forward with some good suggestions and recommendations in the future.
Well, we hope so. I mean, everything, it's all, you guys have done this before too. And everything, Angela has made our job a lot easier these last couple of weeks, because has so much experience with Thorold. So thank goodness we've had her to help us through it.
That's good to hear. Angie appreciates that. Mr. Ravenek, did you have a comment?
Actually, I had a question. The Rigonelli property apparently is under appeal by the applicant.
Yes.
I was wondering if the city was going to make a representation at the Land Tribunal Board or not, because we had deferred the decision.
Yes.
On concerns that we had over parking. And the members of the community had also raised concerns about the facade of the building and the setback. And I just wondered whether this is just going to go unanswered by the city, or if the city is going to make representation.
Well, there is an appeal that was submitted for this. So the file is now before the OLT.
Yeah, but in other appeals, the city has made representation. I recall there was one that we supported. We asked council to set money aside for an appeal, but then the appeal was dropped. So I just wondered if...
Yes, the city does have to obtain legal counsel for that in order to represent the city side. So that is in motion by the acting director.
Okay, and who's the acting director? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but...
Jason Simpson is the acting director at the moment. He is the chief building and bylaw official.
Yeah, okay.
Perhaps there'll be more of an answer at the June meeting, as the OLT meeting isn't until July. Maybe
July 5th, I believe. So if I was a poor person that was all of a sudden getting dumped on to make representation by the city, it doesn't leave me many days.
No, sure doesn't. Further questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, just on that Ormond Street property again, John, this is something new for me. This will be the first one that's gone to the Land Tribunal. Does this mean it's out of our hands now, John? The tribunal strictly deals with it, or will we have it back on our agenda at a later date?
It's considered a new application once the OLT gets a hold of it.
I see.
So it's out of our hands now.
I see. Okay, thanks, John.
You're welcome. All right, looks like we've exhausted our new thoughts. Motion to adjourn, folks. Welcome to you, Nicolette. We'll see you next month.
Thank you again. Nice to meet everyone.
Motion, Mr. Pizzo adjourns,
Yep.
seconded by Mr. Jackson. Thank you, folks.
Done.
All the best.